We have a very important and exciting topic tonight. It's about marriage. No? Marriage as a sacrament and marriage as an institution, no, under our laws. Okay. Now, we might be wondering why marriage is such a very important topic, in almost all issues, in what we read, what we watch. There's always an element of the family and how the family is affected. That's because yung institution ng marriage, is given very much importance because of its nature, and its role in the other institutions that we are a part of. And yung biggest institution na yon, is our country, our nation. Okay? So if in the Catholic Church, we refer to marriage as a sacrament, a sacrament of marriage, sa batas naman, in our laws, in our constitution and our laws, a marriage is considered or looked at as an institution. So it's an institution of marriage by the state, and it's a sacrament of marriage in the church. So let's begin with the words of the Constitution. Ano bang sabi ng Constitution about marriage? So we can have a good jump off point. Sa dami-dami ng mga provisions ng Constitution, merong special article on the family, only for the family. So that alone gives us a clue, on the importance of the family when it comes to how government is acting, what laws it will make. Now, bakit napaka-importante ng family? So let's read the provision of Article 15, titled The Family. So you will see here, it says that the state recognizes the Filipino family as the foundation of the nation. Okay? And then, it proceeds to tell us what we should do about that being the family as the foundation of the nation. Accordingly, it shall strengthen its solidarity and actively promote its total development. Okay. Now we jump to section 2. Kasi sabi natin, this is about marriage, but we started with the family. But there will be no family if there is no marriage to talk about. And the Constitution says that in section 2. And it reads, marriage as an inviolable social institution is the foundation of the family. Okay? And then, the Constitution is telling us in our government what it should do, given that the marriage is the foundation of the family. And it says, it shall be protected by the state. Okay? So, nakita natin dito na marriage is the foundation of the family, and then family is the foundation of the nation. So, if we follow that logic, now we know why the issue of marriage is always out there being talked about when there are new laws. Why? Because marriage is also the foundation of the nation. Okay? So, ang maganda dito, sa Tagalog, para madaanan natin, napakaganda kasi pag sinabi rin sa Tagalog yung ating Constitution. So, this is the same article, Article 15. Title, ang pamilya. Okay? Section 1. Kinikilala ng Estado ang pamilyang Pilipino na pundasyon ng bansa. Sa gayon, dapat nitong patatagin at pagkaisahan ng pamilyang Pilipino at aktibong itaguyod ang lubos na pag-unlad niyon. At sa Section 2, yung marriage sa Tagalog dito sa Constitution, ang term ay ang pag-aasawa. Actually, dapat ang pag-asawa, isa lang, hindi madami. Pero that's linguistics lang naman yan. Ang nire-refer dito ay yung institusyon ng marriage, ang pag-asawa, na di malalabag ng institusyong panlipunan. Ay pundasyon ng pamilya at dapat pangalagaan ng Estado. Lalim, But it only reflects the respect and the value given by government to the institution of marriage. And there's a common word, promote. and protect. No? All right. Now, ano ba yung what is marriage? What is it about marriage that makes it so special, not only as a sacrament, no, but as an institution? Okay, now we go to the family code. So as you know, no, yung mga batas natin, no, ginagaya lang yung mga binabanggit sa ating constitution. So yung constitution, yung pinakamalaking batas. So pag gumawa ng mga batas yung Kongreso, susundan nila yung sinasabi ng constitution. They cannot go against it, no, and they cannot change it. So in the family code, which is a law created by Congress, no, kino-complement niya yung mga nabasa natin ng provision ng Constitution about marriage and the family. So, according to the family code, what is marriage? So, parang dinidefine natin ang marriage. Okay? So, in the words of the family code, it says this: marriage is a special contract of permanent union between a man and a woman. So, period. No? Very simple, no? Ito ang pinaka-simple na mga definition na nakita ko sa mga batas, no? So let's break it down. So there are 3 aspects to that. Now, bakit natin inuumpisahan dito, no? Dinedefine yung marriage. Kasi dito sa description o definition ng marriage, nakikita natin, makukumpara natin kung ano yung hindi marriage, no? Bakit? Dahil maraming mga hakbang, no, matagal na, for the past 20-30 years in our country, no, maraming hakbang na bigyan ng ibang kahulugan, no, yung institution of marriage. So merong mga pinapasok na pinopropose na dapat ang marriage ay hindi lang between man and woman, dapat between man and man, pwede rin, or between woman and woman. Okay? And then they're saying because they should have that right, no, to marry who they want, ganyan, ano. Now, if we look at the description and definition of marriage by the law, the family code, we will know what makes marriage very special. Okay? And when I say special, a special contract, as it says here. Now, let's go. All right? Now, we break it down into 3, no? It is a permanent contract between a man and a woman to establish conjugal and family life. Okay. A permanent contract. Okay. Now, para maintindihan natin, no, bakit siya special contract, no? Iko-compare natin siya dun sa mga ibang contracts, no? O kasunduan, no? So pag sinabing contract, hindi lang ito yung nasa papel. Okay? So maaaring ito ay relasyon o isang sistema ng pamumuhay, no, na meron kayong karelasyon, ganyan, ano. In this case, ang pinakamadaling paraan na pagkumpara ay dun sa mga ordinary contracts. Kasi nga, ginamit nga yung salitang special contract, no? Parang pagkain, no? May special, may regular. So itong mga ordinary contracts, ito yung mga regular contracts. Hindi ito dahil hindi importante, no? Na contract, hindi naman. Importante rin sila, pero meron silang kakaibang mga characteristics na pag nakita natin at kinumpara natin sa characteristics ng contract of marriage, we will know why marriage is given such protection and such promotion for its development, no? So, yung ordinary contract natin, ha? Okay. Ito yung mga characteristics, no, ng mga ordinary contracts. So, ano yung mga contracts na ito? Yung mga buy and sell, o kaya to do something, no, hiring someone, or to buy some goods, no? Yung mga karaniwan na ginagawa natin sa buhay natin, no, na patungkol sa mga ari-arian, o kaya may uupahan kayong mga apartment, no? Okay. So ano yung characteristic ng mga ordinary contracts? O ito, it can be stopped by one person's decision. Alright? It can be stopped, meaning ayaw ko na sundan yan. No? Ayaw ko na sundan yung kontrata kasi lugi ako or whatever, no? Siyempre, may mga effect yun, ano? May mga effect yun. Baka mahabla siya, no? But the point is, as an ordinary contract, no, ito mga ordinary contracts, basta ayaw ng isang tao na kasama dun sa kontrata, no, hindi pwedeng pipilitin kung ayaw. Kung ayaw na ayaw talaga, merong kapalit doon sa paggawa ng contract. Ano yon? Siguro yung damages o yung danyos. Pero yung pipilitin mo siya na ipagpatuloy yung kontrata, no? Hindi naman crime yun eh. Hindi naman crime yung ganun. Pero meron lang civil wrong, no? Kaya merong damage. Pero the point is, in ordinary contracts, it can be stopped by one person's decision, no? What else? Ordinary contracts, pwede silang makancel by natural calamities. Okay? So, meron kayong kasunduan na magtatanim nito, magtatayo ng ganitong building, pero nangyari yung lindol, hurricane, or pandemic, no, such as this where we are at, no? So, may mga bagay-bagay na hindi mo control, no? At dahil doon, hindi mo na talaga matutuloy, no? Pag sira na yung lupa, paano mo matutuloy? O kaya walang gagawang mga tao kasi baka magkasakit sila. So, ang mangyayari doon, the ordinary contracts, they set aside, they can cancel it, no? What else? In ordinary contracts, no, pwedeng matuloy yung kontrata kahit namatay na yung isang party doon sa kontrata. Bakit? Dahil yung mga obligasyon ng mga tao doon sa contract, kahit namatay, no, ay napapasa doon sa mga taong may nakakonect na interest, no. So kung yung maari yun yung mga heredero mo, no, your heirs, your children, no, or if it's a company, no, ang mangyayari, ipapasa lang yun kung sino yung susunod na board of directors, no, or whatever, no. So yan ang ordinary contract. And then related to sa topic later, no, yung mga virtual marriage, no. So, yung ordinary contract, pwede yung mga virtual signing of contracts. So hindi kayo kailangan na in one place. So kahit nasa USA si Mr. A at nasa Philippines si Mr. B, basta magkasundo sila, magpasahan sila ng mga terms and conditions, no? Eh pwede silang mag-send ng email. Okay, we agree to this offer. Let's do it, let's buy it, let's sell it, let's make it. Okay? Yan, pwede yan sa mga ordinary contracts. Okay? Now in marriage, compare natin para makita natin bakit special ang marriage, no? Now, in the contract of marriage, okay, so I'm not calling it sacrament of marriage yet, no, because we're talking about the marriage as an institution under law, all right? Marriage, the marriage relation, it cannot be stopped by the decision of the spouses. It cannot be stopped. Now, alam niyo na kung saan papunta ito, no? Kasi may mga akbang na ipasok o gawing batas yung divorce, no? Ano ba yung divorce? Ay, sa dami-dami na mga definition ng divorce. Simple lang ang pag-describe ng divorce, no? Pagka merong divorce law na naipasa, most probably, malamang, no? At kita natin ito dun sa mga version ng mga divorce bill, no? Most probably, yan ay isang divorce bill pagka ganito ang itsura. Mayroong provision doon na nagbibigay ng karapatan dun sa husband or sa wife na tapusin yung marriage, to end the marriage, no? Para kumbaga sa lisensya, no, i-expire yung marriage. On what ground? Ay, i-enumerate nila doon kung ano yung mga grounds na sa tingin ng mga spouses na hindi na pwede ipagpatuloy yung marriage, no? Ngayon, alam naman natin ang Pilipinas ay isa na lang o dalawa na walang divorce law, no? So, ano yung makikita natin sa ibang countries na meron na nito na ina-apply nila? Ay, kung i-google ninyo, no, sa iba-ibang states ng US, merong mga divorce na basta't mag-agree lang yung mag-asawa, pipirma lang sila ng divorce contract. Kaya sa mga pelikula nakikita natin, no, yung mga actors natin nakilala natin, may drama, tapos sasabihin, nag-aaway sila, just sign the contract, no? O hindi contract yun ng kung ano-anong buy and sell. Yun ay yung divorce agreement, no, which is a contract, no? So yun, most probably, pag magkabatas tayo, magkakaroon ng ganong klaseng sistema, no, to make it easier for marriages to be stopped. Kaya in the institution of marriage under our laws now, it cannot be stopped by the decision of the spouses. Okay? It cannot be stopped. It cannot be terminated by the decision of the spouses, no? And there, I put that divorce allows marriage to be stopped by agreement of the spouses. Just to show, no? Just to show na as compared to ordinary contracts, no? Ang marriage contract or ang institution of marriage ay very special such that not even the parties to the contract, the husband and wife, can dictate na itapos na yung marriage. Basta gusto natin itapos, hindi yun po pwede. No? Kaya nga itong divorce, no? Kung tutuusin, pag naipasa yung divorce law, making it easy, no? What will happen? It will turn marriage into an ordinary contract. Like what we saw earlier, no? The characteristics of an ordinary contract, where the party, any one party can just say, no, I don't want it anymore. All right? Now, we move to this very practical issue, no, in marriage. No? It does not end by physical absence. Okay? So, what makes this so special, no? Because we all know that there's this ongoing, it has been there, no, alternative, no, lalo na sa new generation, alternative to marriage. This is what they call cohabitation, no, for whatever reasons they have, no. Yung mga napapanood natin sa movies na, we have to try if we are compatible, so we will cohabit, no. But the funny thing there is, no, yung term na cohabit, no, from the root word habit, no, inhabited, no, it presumes na meron kayong physical presence in the same place. No? Kaya nga pag sinabing cohabit, ano ba yung term na cohabit, na legal term kasi yung cohabit? Ano ba yung equivalent term ng cohabit na alam natin? No? It is live-in. Okay, so they actually live in the same house or the same apartment or the same place or office, no? Sinabi kong office kasi dahil before pre-COVID, yung mga call center, minsan doon sila natutulog at nagko-cohabit sila doon, no? That's why it became a cause for many, destroyed families, no? Because yung cohabitation was very easy. The mere fact na nandoon kayo in the same place, no? You are cohabiting. Now, in the institution of marriage, no, unlike in cohabiting, no, dito kahit hindi kayo magkasama, the marriage is still there. The obligations are still there. The institution of marriage is still protected and it does not end by physical absence. Now, there are good and bad stories about this, no. There are some na because of the distance, no, the marriage was destroyed. But the point here is that the state, no, does not put that burden, no, or let's say a ground, no, that the physical absence, no, of one of the spouses from each other will automatically destroy the marriage or terminate the marriage. In the divorce laws that we see, that is one of the grounds. Okay? So, what will happen there? Kung ayaw mo pala sa asawa mo, what will you do? You will go far away for a long time. No? If divorce becomes a law, the people will find a way to terminate their marriage simply because there will be a divorce law. That's why most of the moves, no, opposing divorce law is centered on this, because passing the divorce law will make marriages easier to end and to terminate. No? And we all know we are limited creatures, no? We are physically, wala po tayong bilocation, what they call this, being in many places in one time, no? We can only be in one place. So what happens if you have to work in another place? The institution of marriage is preserved even if the spouses are not together. Okay, no? Unlike in cohabitation, masasabi mo bang Magko-cohabit kayo, live-in kayo, pag nandun naman yung partner mo sa abroad, ay baka hindi mo alam, nagko-cohabit din siya sa iba. So ano yung cohabitation? But in marriage, no. That's why when I had seminars in other countries, I introduced myself. I'm married with one child, and then naging 2, then naging 3. I'm married. I always say that I'm married. No? Why? Because that is the status of your person. No? That's why we put that civil status. No. All right. And what else? Let's go to the third. In the institution of marriage, the contract of marriage, participants cannot make the marriage on their own. Oh, see? What does that mean? Ibig sabihin nun, the institution of marriage depends on the institution that it will be part of, so the state or the church. Okay? So that's why in the marriages we attend, there's so many formalities, there are many rules, marriage license. Why? Because the state has an interest on making sure that the marriage you're entering in is according to the intentions and purposes kung bakit siya tinawag na institution of marriage. And what are those some requirements? We will see later. Dapat man and woman. Man and woman. Nakasulat doon. And what else? Dapat hindi ka married, single. That's why before marriage, you have to get a marriage license. And if you will be married in the church, meron pa yung wedding bands, Wedding bands. Ano yun? Yung ina-announce, Yung hear ye, ganyan, si ganyan will get married to this at pinupost pa doon. Kaya nga minsan in the church, may narinig akong name na ganyan. Ako. Uy, tingnan mo na. Alam ko, may ganito, Yung pala, kapangalan lang. So, tinawagan ko yun, yung friend ko. Uy, papakasal ka uli, pala hindi siya, Kapangalan lang, mistaken identity, But, the point here is that, unlike in ordinary contracts, where the members or participants in the ordinary contracts make the contract on their own, verbally, written, or by mere action, nag-agree sila, sige, bilhin ko na yan. Tapos, wala nang kailangan pang mag-interfere, siguro yung notary, pagka lupa, But the notary merely says that it's voluntary. The notary does not make the contract, It just says it's a voluntary act kasi lupa, malaki yun, house and lot yung involved. But in marriage, participants or the spouses cannot make the marriage on their own. So, dapat meron officer to solemnize, sa church, it is the priest or the pastor, depending on the religion. And kung civil, it is the judge, or the consul, Philippine consul in other places, Now, we go here. Compare it to, as I mentioned, cohabitation. So we will see, ano ba yung agreement to cohabitate? How special is it? Is it compared to marriage, Here, cohabitation can be made by the participants by themselves by mere action. Nandyan, matagal na sila. By verbal agreement, by written agreement. So yung iba, social, sige, we will cohabit kasi nga marami silang property. O pag nag-break tayo, paano yan? Yung ating business, ganyan. And there's no ceremony required to begin the cohabitation. Okay? Unlike in marriage, the ceremony is an essential element. Why? Because doon sa ceremony nagaganap yung pagbigay ng consent ng husband and wife, ng man and woman before the officiating officer. Now, going back, persons in cohabitation do not have a legal obligation to remain in cohabitation. Bakit? Kasi depende sa kanila. Sila yung gumawa ng agreement to cohabit, sila rin ang pwedeng magtapos noon, maliban na lang kung meron silang ibang agreement. Halimbawa, business partner sila. Iba naman yon. So may obligasyon kayo pagpatuloy mo yung business. But the relationship of cohabitation, it will change the moment you live, cohabit with someone else. So if you look at it, it doesn't have the permanence that is given and the importance given to marriage. So we're reminded of this ordinary contract when we talk about cohabitation. And third, it can be stopped by one person's decision. Okay? You cannot cohabit with yourself. Okay? So when you're fed up, you just leave. Tapos ang cohabitation relationship. No more obligations, No more of the promises and duties. no? And as mentioned earlier, in marriage, no, as compared to marriage, cohabitation can end by physical absence because the nature of the relation is that you're together living in. After that, no, because of circumstances that you're not together, if you look at it, you are no longer cohabiting. Marriage being between a man and a woman. Okay, so in ordinary contracts, okay, sales, lease, whatever, no, can be between anybody. Okay, anybody, man and woman, woman and man, no, and it can be between many persons. Okay, 5 persons in the contract because one will give money, the other will be the secretary, the other will be the professional, the other will be the driver, no, whatever, no, parang partnership, no, it can be between many persons. In marriage, no, we will see why it is a special contract. Okay, because it is only between a man and a woman. Okay, as mentioned earlier. And not just that, no, between one man and one woman only. Kasi merong iba doon sa pwede ba between men and women? Well, hindi na yon marriage, no? It is like other polygamy, no, or other forms of marriage, no, in other religions. But in the marriage that we know as a law and as a sacrament, it is between one man and one woman only. Okay, so as compared to the ordinary contracts where it can be between anybody. Now let's look at the relationship of cohabitation that's always compared to marriage, no? Here, no law requires cohabitation to be between man and woman. Alright? Bakit? Because cohabitation by itself is a decision just by the persons coming together, no? Kaya nga, when you talk about cohabitation, pumapasok na rin yung topic ng same-sex marriage. Why? Because same-sex unions, they start from cohabitation. No? Best friends, and then they develop into an attraction, and then there will be sexual relations coming, even if they are incompatible sexually, no? Man and man, woman and woman, no? So this element, this issue of cohabitation is related to the issue on same-sex marriage. So you can see now yung root, no, ng same-sex marriage is actually this, the cohabitation, no? Now, I will also say that no law prohibits cohabitation between man and man. No? So if you see, you will now ask, bakit pa sila nagsasama, man and man? What will come out from a relationship of man and man? No? Can there be offspring between man and man? Oh, there will be best friends, but offspring, no. Children, no. In the same way, no law prohibits cohabitation between woman and woman. And cohabitation can be between many persons. So if you look at it, although I am describing it, just for the sake of comparing it to the institution of marriage, no? So if cohabitation, this relationship has many permutations, no? Which defines its relation with each other, of the person with each other. No? In marriage, it is very exclusive, no, and very protected, and very given so much value. Now there is a purpose, no? Bakit man and woman lang, isa lang? Bakit? Para tipid, para hindi masyadong mahal yung pag-sustain ng marriage, no? And we will see it here in the last portion, no? The purpose. And as described in the family code, it is to establish conjugal and family life. So there is a purpose to the promoting the sanctity of marriage. No? Now let's see in this last comparison. No? If in an ordinary contract, the purpose would be what? To start an activity or do a service, deliver a service, or deliver goods. So think of the contracts that you have been in or that you are part of, employment contract, whatever. No? The purposes there are related to the everyday things we do. No, you can even transfer. I'll sell something now. Tomorrow I will give a service. No? It depends. No, minsan nga many people have different undertaking sidelines, no? Different agreements and contracts. No? In marriage, What is the purpose? Very specific, no? And very limited, but very ironic also, no? Unlike in ordinary contracts, ang dami-dami pwede. To rent, to sell, to do. In marriage, what is the purpose? It's very simple, and there's a reason why the purpose of marriage is very simple, and it's here to create life and to sustain family life, to establish conjugal and family life. So the wording of the family code is to establish conjugal and family life. Now, bakit conjugal and family? Conjugal meaning the two spouses coming together as spouses, and family because as spouses, no, the fruits of their union are children. All right? Now, in cohabitation, persons in cohabitation do not have a legal obligation to establish a conjugal or family life. Now, is that something that will debase the people in a cohabitation? Well, no, it's just because they are limited to what their purposes are for cohabiting. It could be because they're lonely, no, or they've been best friends, or it's very practical because he's like that and I'm like this, so we come together, we have a good business, so we might as well stay together, no. But in marriage, no, there is one very essential goal, and that is to establish conjugal and family life, no. So these are the elements of marriage, no. It's a permanent contract between man and woman, purpose to establish conjugal life. So it is like the element of putting hard concrete together, very stable. You have the cement, which is the permanent contract. Man and woman, no, they're the sand, no, bodies, no, we come from the earth, no. And the purpose to establish conjugal life. So water gives life. So that's how I highlight, no, the elements of marriage and why it is very special as compared to the ordinary contract. So now we know why we use the term marriage is a special contract. Okay, it's special not simply because of the word special, hindi lang yun. Because of the purpose of marriage, no, and the elements that constitute the marriage, meaning the people who are in the marriage, no, and the requirements and the characteristics of that relationship of marriage as compared to ordinary contracts, no. So that is why we reach the term special contract. So now, since we are at the topic on this marriage as a special contract, no, we will see in detail, very fast, no, the requirements. If we saw earlier the characteristics, no, of a marriage, no, here we will see the requirements according to the family code. Again, we're still at the family code, ano? Okay, now we heard kanina, no, the description of the marriage under the family codes between a man and a woman. That's the first requirement. Okay? So, hindi kailangan ganyan ang buhok ng lalaki, no? Yung ganyan, hindi rin kailangan ganyan ang buhok ng babae. No? It's just the picture, no? But what is important is your sex status is you are man and the other one is a woman. Now, you will ask, paano yung mga nagpapa-sex change? You know, we all know that. No? Yung mga nagpapa-sex change, you just change the external. No? You do something there, but your whole, your genes, everything else, no, you were born man and you were born woman. So in the end, at the end of the day, the question is still, are you man and woman coming together into marriage? That's why it's the first requirement, no, and of course, dapat dyan yung age, no, legal age 18, no. Okay, what else? Second requirement is the requirement of consent. Okay, so the man and the woman have to say yes, no? No, they don't say that, no, in the ceremony, ha? Sige, pwede, no? They don't say that, no? But something like that, no? They give their consent by saying, I do. Okay, or in some ceremonies, if it's a church ceremony, no, sometimes they let the husband and the wife, no, bring out their paper, no? Pero ngayon, iPad na, and have their speech there, which makes the giving of the consent more memorable, and more voluntary and more solid. But the minimum requirement is you say I do. Well, you don't have to say it, I do. No? So if you are impaired in speech, you can do sign language, I do, or just say yes so that the priest or the officiating can confirm. No? And then, but before that, there is a requirement for a marriage license. Now, bakit? May requirement na ganito. Kasi nga, it will confirm if you have the characteristics to enter into the sacrament of marriage, if it's in church, or the civil marriage. No? And what is that? The marriage license will prove that you do not have any previous marriage, that you are single. Okay? Or maybe you're a widow or a widower. No? In that case, you can remarry. Okay? What else? And then, most important, okay? And this will lead us to the topic on virtual marriage, no? So, one very essential requirement is the marriage ceremony. Okay, bakit? Kasi doon sa marriage ceremony, no, doon nagaganap yung exchange of vows, no, and witnessing. Okay, so what are the elements of that ceremony? It's a place. Okay, so it's a physical place. Okay, and there are people in that place. Now, bakit connected itong place and people? Because the only people who can officiate a marriage is related to the place of their function. So, sino ba yung pwedeng mag-officiate ng marriage, no? Priest or pastor, whatever is your religion or denomination, no? Priest. And where do they do that? In their church, in their chapel. In some instances, in their worship hall, no? So connected siya doon. Second, the judge, no? He can only officiate in his courtroom, in his sala. They call it the sala. No? That's where they have their court cases. No? And then third, yung consul, no? If it is abroad, no? So the place and the person officiating, no, are intertwined, no? That's why pag sinabing virtual marriage, no, it is like there is no marriage because it is anywhere, no? It is in the internet in the same way we're doing this, no? And what else? The place and the people, the place brings the people together. Since there is a place, the spouses have to go to that place along with their witnesses, no? Two witnesses, no, of legal age. And as of today, no, marriages there's no such thing as virtual marriages. So, kung merong mga proposals, no, to allow virtual marriages, now you might say, kaya na kasi may internet. Well, you can argue all those things, no? But we will look at the essence of why the ceremony or the process of entering into the institution of marriage should be personal and present. Why? Because it is very important, no, for the consent to be given and to be witnessed by the people. So consent meaning, the mannerism of the person, no? You see them crying, laughing, o nakaunod, no? Sabi ng you may kiss the bride, tapos nakaganon. Diba? Dapat masaya. O kaya yung I do, ganon, no? Parang patago, no? Sa virtual, pwede mo namang ma-cheat yan no? Napakadali, no? Lalakasan mo na yung volume mo. Paano kung na-mute pala, no? Sumisigaw ka na, I do, pero mute. O paano yan? So the marriage will stop. O kaya nag-lag yung internet kasi DSL lang, no? Now, this may be very trivial, but the point here is this, no? That is how important the ceremony of marriage is, no? Very, very personal, wherein people come together to witness. Now, I'm talking about the marriage process, no, under law. But if you look at the marriage as a sacrament, and the process in the sacrament of marriage, no, it is the same. No, there is no virtual church marriage. Last I know in our Catholic tradition and our Catholic teaching. No? Now is that a surprise for us? No, because as you know here in the various sacraments, no, all of these sacraments have the physical presence of the person receiving the sacrament there with the person giving the grace. All right, so there you have the sacrament of baptism, confession, Holy Eucharist, confirmation, holy orders, extreme unction, and matrimony. All of these, you have the different elements of the sacrament, water, oil, coming together in the presence of the person receiving the grace. Now, this will help us understand, as Catholics, why the sacrament of marriage must be protected, the sanctity of marriage must be protected, not because the law simply says so, it's very easy to understand it that way, but all the more because we know that more than an institution of marriage, this is raised to a sacrament by our church, by Jesus Christ. That's why forever how long pag-usapan yung divorce bill, cohabitation bill, or same-sex marriage bill, or virtual marriage bill, never ending. There's one thing that will not change, and that is how the church regards the marriage as a sacrament, how it raises marriage as a sacrament. And as we all know, what is in it in a sacrament, that people of different faiths or with no faith will not be able to grasp or understand or appreciate. What is that? The sacrament is a channel of grace. So whatever sacrament you receive, it is actually not because you are ready for the reception after, yung kainan pagkatapos niya, punta tayo sa ganitong restaurant, But more than that, it is because before you even went to eat, you already received something na mas nakakabusog, and that is the grace. And we know when that grace comes to work. Right? It comes to work in the most difficult times of a person's marriage. It comes to work, if it were confirmation, the most difficult times of a person's decision making. Okay? When it comes to confession, the most difficult time when you have to say that humiliating sin, which you did again and again, the same, and then the same priest hears it, that's where the grace comes in, because it gives us that extraordinary ability, supernatural ability, to think beyond ourselves and to think of the grace and the purpose, or the bigger goal or the objective for which we were made to fit in that sacrament. Now we have to go back to the law again. So I have this drawing here. What are the words that you say? That you see here, we just discuss it. Or if this were a quiz, and I will end it here. 3 points. What words do you see there? Magulo ba? There you see marriage, okay, family, and nation. So we have a clue already. Attorney, that's very easy. Marriage is the foundation of the family, and the family is the foundation of the nation. So, yan. Very nice house, This is to illustrate the literal meaning of why the institution of marriage has to be protected the way we always do. In our homes, in our offices, we defend it according to what our faith requires us to, and regards the institution of marriage, sacrament of marriage to be. And like in a house, beautiful house like that, we see how the institution of marriage is illustrated. So you have marriage, it's the ground. That's why when you make house above a lot, ano ba nakikita natin? Di ba tinatambakan muna ng lupa? Tinatambakan yan, hindi dahil gusto nilang tatamnan ng trees or plants later, hindi. Besides that, of course we want soil. They're actually making the foundation very, very stiff and very, very hard. Especially here in the place where we live, in Pampanga, yung sa lahar, no, the sand, no, minsan malambot, minsan matigas. No, what they do, tatambakan nila, may mga tubig diyan, no, marsh, no. So they have to put soil until makompact siya, minsan months, no. At pag hindi na lumulubog, no, compact na, that's the time they say, sige, pwede na tayong mag-build. No? So there now, you have the first floor, the foundation, the family. Now, if the first floor has no good foundation, no, it is made of cheap wood, and then you make the second floor cement, what will happen? No, the foundation of the family is not strong. No? So what will happen? The nation, the third floor will fall. Or, let's say the foundation of the first floor is very strong. No? So you make something very heavy, pero yung foundation ng marriage, the soil was not very strong. Isang tambakan lang. Kasi tinipid ninyo. What will happen? Maybe 1, 2, 3 years, your house will stand. Pero pag dumating na yung ondoy o kung ano yung mga bagyo at ulan, slowly it will eat up the foundation and your house will sink and you will see scratches. Cracks, no, in your cement. So these are the two very important views that we have on marriage that will make us feel inspired. No? If you are married, you're in a marriage, it should make you feel inspired, no? To give very high regard to your spouse and to the obligation and the promise and the vow that you made. No? And second, if you are not Catholic or you have no access to understanding the sacrament of marriage, even our laws, no, describe the importance and the value of marriage being a permanent institution, no, between a man and a woman for the establishment of conjugal and family life. So we are not surprised. Why in other nations where divorce has been the default system already when marriages break down, no, divorce agad, no, we're not surprised why they have all these yung mga suicides, no, shooting in schools, no, these serial killers. Why? Because the research has shown after 30, 40, 50 years of divorce law, no, they are now seeing the effects of those laws that they introduced. Dito sa ating bansa, we are very fortunate, no? Why? Because pabalik na sila, papunta pa lang tayo, no? Para bang nakita mo na yung kasalubong mo, bugbog yung muka, no? Pupunta ka pa ba doon? Di ba? You will stop and say, ay, parang may magnanakaw yata dyan, ay hindi ako dadaan dyan, no? That is how it is. We have the benefit of the experience of other countries. So with the onset of technology, of internet, we have no reason, no, not to know and not to research well before we make decisions on supporting this law, supporting this bill. No? And it is talks like this and seminars like this that give us the edge to understand what we are in or what we are about to enter if you are not yet married. No? So at the same time, there is a big obligation, big burden, but at the same time, there is a big satisfaction and a big reward. Why? Because we don't do it alone. No? We don't do it alone. We have the benefit of the sacrament of marriage, wherein there is a transfer of grace to help us deal with all these challenges against the sanctity of marriage. So I hope you learned a lot tonight. Thank you and good night.